Gorillaz 2022?
Yeah, 2022. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, of course.
How's everything? Very nice to see you again.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Where's the mullet?
Oh yeah, I got rid of that. People were starting to write articles, and the first paragraph would be about the mullet, and I was just sort of, I can't let hairstyle get in the way of the music. It's too much for me, you know.
Totally. Congratulations on the album. I really love it, and I think this project started as a free commission months ago, and then the world stopped, the world changed, and I think that with that, the initial project as well was transformed into this album. So I want to ask you, how did this start, and how did you, Simon and Brian and Mike, bring these 10 songs into?
It started here with looking out of my window, and this is the view from my window. And then, no, not those. Then there's that, and that's my piano looking out. So that's that, and it was wonderful. So behind me, can you imagine like 12 orchestral musicians, and we all just looked out of that window and just tuned into what was going on out there, and played with the atmosphere and the change in the weather and the birds and the people and the light, and you know, it was a fantastic, it was such fun and such just, and you know, we were playing for sometimes up to an hour continuous, just recording. And then so when the pandemic hit, I had to leave. I left literally kind of a few days before all the restrictions came into place, and I made a decision to go straight down to the countryside and just try and, you know, avoid being in a city.
Yeah.
Not so much for because I wanted to kind of escape the pandemic, but just because everything was closed and I wasn't going to be able to record or work in London, and I felt like I had, you know, I had so much to do. I had Gorillaz Song Machine to continue. I wanted to keep thinking about this, and I just felt very inspired. And obviously, you know, for every artist, it was a real kind of, well, what do I talk about now? The world's changed. But luckily for me, I kind of was alluding to a lot of this kind of sort of chaos anyway, and I have been for many years. So.
And it feels like kind of nature save you from isolation or something like that. And I want to ask you about, because
I mean, even if there's no humans about, you're never really alone in nature. You know, it's so complex in its language, and you know, even just trying to sort of understand the birds, you know, let alone Iceland. It was quite a macro frame I had, but when I got down to Devon, you know, some days it would be like very like, you know, you just tune in on, you know, you'd spend an hour just looking at a tree, you know what I mean?
And I think it feels, I mean, the atmospheric feeling and the presence of nature are very alive throughout the whole album.
Right, that was my ambition, so I'm glad that it's translated, you know.
I think it is a work of observation and as well realization of the moment that we're living and what we need to do to protect our environment. I mean, it kind of feels like a very Attenborough album as well.
You know, Attenborough. Well, you know, funnily enough, when I did Plastic Beach, I tried really hard to get Attenborough to do a voiceover for one of the tunes, but he wasn't. I just couldn't connect with him properly to have the conversation, you know. So, and it never happened. But this is the thing. I mean, this is why I just keep working, and you know, nothing's ever really finished. This is the thing. So it's just a continuous body of work that reflects kind of, you know, my very small little kind of vision of what I see around me, you know.
I want to ask you about that because the album speaks to me in so many layers: change, transformation, introspection, nature, connection, and grief. So I want to start with the first two and want to ask you about what do change and transformation means to you as a musician.
Well, it's just, I mean, this is the thing about learning to play with lots of musicians and getting an ensemble to trust the power of improvisation and impulse, you know, and not necessarily revealing to them what they're playing or why they're playing it, but just getting them to respond, you know, because, you know, when we were in Iceland, none of them had any idea what I was hearing. But, you know, I get someone I'd say, oh, play that bird as it flies by, or you guys play the movement of the waves, or you play that cloud, like, you know, the bass trombones, you play the cloud just as it's moving over the mountain. You just keep playing that, you know, and if it gets deep, if it gets thicker, the cloud, then you get more dense in your harmony, and if it gets lighter, you become more open, you know, kind of these kind of instructions, very, very clear instructions, but also ones that while they were playing them, that they couldn't, it's impossible to sort of understand why you're doing it. You're doing it naturally. You're trying to somehow make a audio memory of what you've just seen. But I'd give them specific, you know, certain harmonic rules, you know. So I knew that once they'd done that, at the end of an hour's playing, all of the stuff they played would be in the right key for what I was going to put on top. It's a really fantastic way to work, actually, and, you know, I kind of, you know, I wish I could have, I mean, for me, my dream, obviously being a kind of mad workaholic musician, composer, I would like to have, I don't know, 15, 20 musicians just there every day, waiting just to make music, you know, but that's not possible.
Everyday Robots was a very personal album, but the nearer the fountain feels even more personal.
Oh, it's way more personal.
Yeah, it's very introspective. So I want to ask you, how introspection allowed you to travel in the confinement, and which were the physical and the imaginary boundaries of learnings you found?
Well, I think within the album there was a very, you know, a strong counterbalance to the introspection, which was the journeys I took within the songs, you know, to places like Montevideo, to Iran, back to Iceland, you know, just traveling all the time, trying to write words and create atmospheres that allowed me to feel free, you know, like everybody else. I was very restricted.
I think the lyrics are amazing, and the whole album may become a document of this era, and it's still timeless. I think anyone in grief can feel related to it and connect.
That's why I really wanted to get it finished. You know, I finished it in February, and you know, I was like, "Oh, we've got to put this out now." But everyone said, "No, relax, it's fine. We're still being, in fact, would be more. Everyone's headspace would be better able to receive the record later in the year than now." It was almost like, and I think this is a real problem with things like TikTok and Instagram, and the way that music is disseminated now. The ideas are immediately broadcast almost within hours of their conception, you know. And then, you know, if someone's kind of sort of lucky enough for that idea to catch on, in a month, someone can be transported into a very different universe as far as popularity and people listening, but they haven't really thought about what they're doing, or you know what I mean. It's all so instantaneous.
Short term.
Very short term. I mean, you know, and this makes me sound really old fashioned, but you know, when I started in Blur, you had to do a few years of just playing like pubs and small clubs and traveling around the country, and slowly you do a tour of, like, you know, if it was Mexico, my first tour would be Mexico City, Guadalajara, you know, I'd just go around, and then you come back a year later and it's just a few more people there, and then you build it up, and then one day you have a fan base that is built. And you know what was beautiful about those days is that you looked every single person in the eye while you were, you know, when you started, you know, and they saw you, and it was a real thing. It was real, you know, that they'd go to their friends the next day and go, oh man, I went to this great gig, you got to come next time. Then they bring, you know, and that's how it happened. And everyone, it was like really like a visceral human build, you know, and now it's so digital, it's kind of sort of scary. I find it scary myself.
The album is kind of a musical representation of how pain and beauty come hand in hand, and as well life and death. So in the search for this beauty and joy comes hope as well. So just how did your personal grieving process nurture this project, and what gives you hope in times like this?
Honestly, I try and make music every day, so it's my life.
I think Chelsea gives you some hope as well.
It's wonderful watching Chelsea at the moment. I mean, it's like it's a dream come true. I've been to the previous one in Munich, and that was very stressful. It just took an amazing moment by Drogba to win, but this time I felt we were by far the better team, you know. And I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be an amazing year this year. I think there's so many teams that are good this year. You know what I mean?
I think City, Liverpool, United, Chelsea. I mean, maybe the four best teams in the world are in the Premier League right now.
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, last question, and I have to ask you this because I know in Monday you got this show at the Globe Theatre, and it will coincide with the Harvest Moon and the beginning of the autumn equinox. So that was planned.
Well, it's just fate, you know, and the wonderful thing about the Globe Theatre is that it's built like a traditional Elizabethan theatre, so it's open at the top. So there is a chance, if it's a clear night, that the moon will be literally shining down into the. What more can I ask for? La luna es en mi alma.
That's great. That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations. Hope to see you soon in Mexico.
I miss Mexico so much. I have a shop now in London where we're running out of all the things that we bought in Mexico over the years, and we've been selling them. And we need to get back to Mexico because we need to get back to those amazing markets. Mexicans have a relationship with music that is unique, I think.
And well, hopefully we can see this project live.
I'd love that if that was up, but if not, I'll see you Gorillaz for sure.
Gorillaz 2022?
Yeah, 2022. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, of course. If people would like to see this, then please just invite me. I any excuse to come to Mexico, basically.
Whatever you want, you're more welcome.
Thank you very much. Very generous.
Take care.
Adios.